Hello and welcome to yet another live session of UPSC Mains PYQ series by Shikara Academy. In this series, we are discussing all the GS Mains question asked by UPSC over the past few years. In this session, we will be discussing about the 2024 GS Paper 3 from question number 6 to question number 10. Now, starting with question number 6, what is the technology being employed for electronic toll collection on highways? What are its advantages and limitations? What are the proposed changes that will make this process seamless? Would this transition carry any potential hazards? Okay, so it is a question on the electronic toll collection on highway. It is a 10-mark question that we have to answer in 150 words, and it is asking us four things. Okay, so the question is asking four things. Actually, it is asking five things. It is asking about the technology that is employed, 2 marks for that. Advantages, 2 marks. Limitations, 2 marks. Then, what are the proposed changes that are also of 2 marks, and the potential hazards. Okay, so we are asked five things of 2 marks each. Now, mapping it with the syllabus, we can see that it has been asked from the subject of technology, science and technology, under the topic developments and their applications and effects in everyday life. Now, the approach that we'll be taking, that in introduction, we will be describing the FASTag as well as the RFID technology. In the body, we will be writing about the advantages, about the limitations, the proposed changes, and the potential hazards of these potential changes. Okay, so we are asked five things, and here we are answering all these five things in introduction and in body. In conclusion, we write a forward-looking conclusion or a way forward. Starting with the introduction, India has adopted FASTag, which is a radio frequency identification based technology. So it is asking about technology. We have named the technology that it is the RFID based technology, and it is used for electronic toll collection to improve highway efficiency and reduce congestion. Okay, so we have deployed this RFID based technology, that is the FASTag, for electronic toll collection. And what is the purpose? In order to improve our highway efficiency or to reduce the time on tolls as well as reduce the congestion on highways. Then we have to discuss the advantages of these FASTag. So first is the reduced waiting time of this electronic toll collection. The advantage is the reduced waiting time. It enables swift and cashless transactions at the toll booth. Second is the fuel efficiency. It minimizes the idling at the toll booth. So at toll booths now you have to stop for a very, you have to halt for a very short amount of time. So that is why it saves the fuel. Third is the transparency. Digital payments reduce the revenue leakage. Okay, so if things earlier things used they used to run in cash. Okay, so at the toll plazas, the payments were made, the toll was paid using the cash, but now it's all digital and has improved the transparency. But there are certain limitations to it. Limitations like tag errors, the fast tag errors. So there are, this is a technology, so there are technical glitches in the tag reading can delay the transactions. Okay, many a times you just go in front and halt in front of the boom barrier and the gate doesn't open. So there is a lag. Second is the digital divide. So rural or less tech savvy users face difficulties while using the FASTag. Third is the enforcement issues. So vehicles without valid tags may bypass the tolls. Okay. So till now there are certain vehicles, there are many vehicles, many people who drive the vehicles without the FASTag in that. Okay. And they tend to bypass the tolls. Now, what changes have been proposed? Okay, in order to overcome these limitations. Okay, what changes is the government proposing? First is the GPS based tolling. So this has been in the news frequently this year. So NHAI plans to implement the satellite based toll collection, eliminating the toll plazas entirely. Okay, so through a satellite based system, the 2 points will be marked, the entry point of your entry point in on the highway and your exit point, and the toll will be deducted accordingly. Second is the improved interoperability. So integration with the other digital platforms is also underway. And also we now, the government after 15th August has also introduced an annual pass of rupees 3,000 for 200 trips. Now, what are these potential hazards? So, if we enable this GPS based tolling, so what can be the potential hazards? First is the privacy concerns. So, these GPS based system raise surveillance issue. Okay, so the government can use it as a surveillance tool. Second is the cyber security risks. All the things have been digitalized. Okay, and we are using GPS, we are using RFID based technology. So, there is a threat of data breaches and the payment frauds. Now, in conclusion, we have to provide a forward looking answer. We say that while electronic toll collection technologies like the FASTag and GPS tolling offer efficiency, no doubt they offer efficiency, robust infrastructure, data protection, and user awareness are essential for seamless and secure transition. But for a seamless and effective transition, we need high efficiency of the system, a robust infrastructure, data protection, as well as user awareness. Now, moving on to the next question, that is question 7. Industrial pollution of river water is a significant environmental issue in India. Discuss the various mitigation measures to deal with this problem and also the government's initiatives in this regard. So, it is a 10-mark question and we have to answer in 150 words. Now, mapping it with the syllabus, we can see that it has been asked from the subject of environment under the topic environmental pollution and degradation, especially the river water pollution. Now, in this question, we have two parts. First is the introductory statement. Till here, this is the introductory statement. It is not asking anything. Okay. And we have to deal with the introductory statement in the introduction itself, in the introduction of the answer. Then the question has two parts. Firstly, it is asking about the various mitigation measures and the government's initiatives. So, in introduction, we will be describing the industrial discharge in the rivers. In the body, we will be addressing the demand of the question, and the question is asking about the mitigation measures as well as government initiatives regarding the industrial discharge in the rivers. In the conclusion, we write a forward looking conclusion or a way forward. Now, starting with the introduction, industrial discharge into rivers is a major cause of water pollution in India, affecting aquatic life, human health, and agriculture productivity. So, we have dealt with the introductory statement of the question in the introduction itself. So, rivers like the Ganga, Yamuna, they face serious contamination from untreated effluents. Now, what are the mitigation measures? So, now while writing the body, we have to write about the mitigation measures. So, mitigation measures can be effluent treatment plants. There should be mandatory installation of in industries to treat wastewater before discharge. So all the wastewater that the industries are discharging into the rivers or into the streams, that needs to be treated first. Second is the zero liquid discharge. Recycling of wastewater within the industrial premises. So all the wastewater generated by the industries needs to be recycled. Third is the strict monitoring, because we have laws, we have policies and rules regarding everything, but there is a lack of monitoring or implementation. So therefore, there should be strict monitoring. There should be real-time effluent monitoring systems mandated by the Central Pollution Control Board. And finally, the polluter pays principle. We have to impose heavy penalties for the environmental violations, penalties including the revoking of the license and heavy fine and also imprisonment. Then we have to highlight the certain government initiatives, what initiatives government is taking in order to mitigate or in order to reduce the discharge of these industries into the river water and increasing the river pollution. First is the Namami Gange mission. It is focused on reducing the industrial pollution in the Ganga basin. Second is the national authorities to regulate the industrial discharge. So these are the initiatives. Also, we can write about the Central Pollution Control Board. We can also write about state pollution control boards in order to further enhance or substantiate our answer. In conclusion, we will be writing a forward-looking line, that is effective enforcement, technological upgrades, and community participation are key to reducing industrial river pollution and achieving sustainable river management. Please note that if the question for a 10-mark question, if we have to answer it in 150 words only, then we have to limit the conclusion within maximum 1 or 2 lines. Moving on to the next question, that is question number 8. What role do environmental NGOs and activists play in influencing environmental impact assessment outcomes for major projects in India? Cite 4 examples with all important details. Okay, so it is a 10-mark question that we have to answer in 150 words. Mapping it with the syllabus, we can see that it has been asked from the subject of environment and the topic is environmental impact assessment. Now, the approach in introduction, we will be describing the environmental impact assessment and the role of NGOs in that. Okay, in body, we write the key roles of the NGOs as well as the activists in the environmental impact assessment or EIA, and then we substantiate our answer with examples because the question is asking us to cite 4 examples. Then in conclusion, we will be summarizing the answer. Now, starting with the introduction, environmental NGOs and activists play a pivotal role in India's environmental impact assessment process by serving as crucial watchdogs. So, what role does they play? They serve as crucial watchdogs, advocates, as well as catalysts for sustainable development. Their involvement, that is, the NGOs and activists' involvement, ensures transparency, accountability, and comprehensive evaluation of major projects that could potentially harm the environment as well as the local communities. Now, we describe the key roles of NGOs and the activists. We discuss the key roles. First is the advocacy and public awareness. So, first is community mobilization. NGOs like the Center for Science and Environment or CSE, they educate local communities about potential environmental impacts, empowering them to participate meaningfully in the EIA process. Second, we have scientific assessment. Organizations conduct independent research and provide technical expertise to challenge inadequate EIAs and highlight the overlooked environmental risks. So, the major role is that advocacy and public awareness, they mobilize the community and they undertake the scientific assessment of the project itself. Second is the legal intervention. With the PILs or the public interest litigations, activists frequently file PILs in courts, high courts, and supreme courts, challenging the faulty EIA reports. Okay, so if the activists or the NGOs they find that the EIA reports have not been prepared with due process, so they file frequent PILs in the courts and they ensure the compliance with the environmental norms. And this calls for the judicial advocacy, and there they approach forums like the NGT or the National Green Tribunal to suspend or review environmentally damaging projects. Finally, the final role is the monitoring and transparency. The post approval oversight. So NGOs monitor the implementation of environmental safeguards. So first the EIA report, first they help in scrutinizing the EIA report. Then after the report gets passed and the project starts, so after the approval of the project, they provide the oversight. Okay, they monitor the implementation of the project and they ensure that the environmental safeguards and report any violations, thus ensuring the continued compliance with the EIA conditions. Okay, they make sure that the EIA conditions are fulfilled. Finally, is the public consultation enhancement. The NGOs as well as the activists, they facilitate the transparent public hearings and ensure marginalized communities' voices are heard. Now let's discuss the 4 examples. So we can take example of the Silent Valley project in Kerala. So activists and NGOs like the Kerala Shastra Sahitya Parishad halted the hydropower project to protect the biodiversity in the Silent Valley National Park. Second is the Vedanta bauxite mining in the state of Odisha. Niyamgiri Suraksha Samiti and activists. So this is the NGO and the activists ensure protection of the tribal rights leading to denial of clearance. Third, we have another example from the state of Odisha only, the POSCO steel plant. So NGOs like Greenpeace and local activists, they delayed the project by highlighting the forest rights and the coastal zone violations. Then finally, we have the quite recent one, Mumbai Coastal Road Project. So NGOs like Vanashakti challenged the EIA reports in court, leading to reevaluation of the project's environmental impact. So now, in conclusion, we will be summarizing the answer by writing that by mobilizing public opinion, filing legal petitions, and exposing flawed assessments, environmental NGOs and activists, they strengthen the environmental governance and ensure that ecological concerns are not sidelined in the name of development. Now, this environmental governance is the keyword over here, and it should be highlighted in the answer. Then moving on to the next question, that is question number 9. Explain how narco-terrorism has emerged as a serious threat across the country. Suggest suitable measures to counter narco-terrorism. 10-mark question that we have to answer in 150 words. Now, mapping it with the syllabus, we can see that it has been asked from the subject of security, and the topic is the linkages of organized crime with terrorism. So, basically, it is a question on terrorism and how narcotics is linked to terrorism. So, in introduction, we will be describing what narco-terrorism is. Then, in body, we write about how this narco-terrorism is emerging as a new threat to India's internal security, and what countermeasures can be deployed in order to overcome the narco-terrorism. Then, in conclusion, we will be summarizing the answer. Starting with the introduction, narco-terrorism refers to the use of drug trafficking to fund terrorist activities. Okay, so this is the basic plain definition of narco-terrorism. Now, in India, this phenomena has grown into a national security threat, particularly in the border regions. So, we have described what is narco-terrorism and how, why India is worried about this. Then we talk about it as an emerging threat. Okay. First is the cross-border nexus. So India's proximity to Golden Crescent as well as the Golden Triangle. So Golden Crescent is your Pakistan, Afghanistan area, Afghanistan and Iran region that is on the western side of the India. And this Golden Triangle is on the Myanmar, Cambodia and Laos side. So they enable, so both on our eastern neighbor as well as on our western neighbor, we have this Golden Crescent and Golden Triangle, and they enable drug smuggling. Okay, and these Golden Crescent and Golden Triangle, they are the hotspot or they are the hotbeds of the drug cultivation. Okay, so they enable drug smuggling in India, especially through Punjab, that is Golden Crescent through Punjab, and the Golden Triangle through the northeast states. Second is the terror financing. Proceed from this narcotics business or this illegal narcotics business are used by groups like Lashkar-e-Taiba and others to fund arms and recruit the youth. Third is the internal security impact. Because of this cross-border nexus and terror financing, so ultimately our internal security is getting compromised. So drug addiction destabilizes community. Okay, it destabilizes community because the youth becomes more and more dependent on drugs, though they become drug addicts. This weakens law enforcement and fuels organized crime. Now, what countermeasures can the government take or in order to deal with this narco-terrorism? Firstly, strengthening border security, advanced surveillance and fencing in drug-prone regions. Because these drugs, they are being smuggled through the border states, so we have to enhance or we have to further strengthen the border security. Second is the coordination between agencies. So there should be enhanced collaboration among agencies such as Narcotics Control Bureau, the Border Security Force, which patrols the border, okay, and the Assam Rifles. Assam Rifles patrols or guards the India's border along with Myanmar and the state polices. Third is the legal framework. Strict enforcement of the Narcotics, Drugs, and Psychotropic Substances Act or the NDPS Act. There should be strict enforcement of this act. Finally, awareness and rehabilitation. So there should be community outreach. We have to reach out to the youth and we have to make them aware about the ill effects of these drugs. And for the youth who have been addicted to the addicted to these drugs, we should be carrying out rehabilitation drives and we should be undertaking the de-addiction programs for those youth. Now, in conclusion, we can summarize by writing a simple line that combating narco-terrorism requires what it requires is a this is a forward-looking line. So it requires a multi-pronged approach which combines security, socio-economic, as well as legal measures to safeguard the national integrity and national security. Moving on to the final question, that is a direct question. Question number 10. Describe the context and salient features of the Digital Personal Data Protection Act of 2023. A 10-mark question that we have to answer in 150 words. It is a very direct question, very current affairs based question. Okay. So mapping it with the syllabus, we can see that it has been asked from the subject of security. And the topic is role of media and social networking sites in internal security challenges and the basics of cyber security. Okay. So in introduction, we will be describing what this act actually is, Digital Personal Data Protection Act of 2023. Then in body, we will be addressing the demand of the question. The demand of the question is simply direct, is really direct. That is, we have to provide the context and salient features of this act. And then in conclusion, we will be summarizing this answer. Starting with the introduction, the Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023 was enacted to safeguard individual privacy and regulate the processing of personal data in the digital era. It emerged following the Supreme Court's 2017 ruling declaring privacy as a fundamental right, that is the Justice Swami judgment. Now, the context of this act is that it was triggered by the rising digital penetration. So there is a rising digital penetration in India, like more and more people, majority of the population in India are using smartphones with internet connections, and there are cases of frequent data breaches and concerns over surveillance. Now, it is also aimed at replacing the outdated laws and aligning with the global protection data protection norms like the General Data Protection Regulation GDPR of the European Union. Okay, so across the world, the countries, the groupings are, and these groupings they are coming up with the data protection norms, data protection bills, data protection acts. So it is in also line with these. Uh, the context is that the Data Protection Act was also made, or it was also made because of this aligning with the global data protection norms. Then there are 5 salient features of this act. First is the consent-based data processing. So personal data of an individual can be processed only with the individual's consent. So without consent, the data cannot be processed. Second is the data fiduciaries. Entities handling data must ensure transparency, security, and accountability. Third is the Data Protection Board, establishment of a Data Protection Board. This Data Protection Board was established for enforcement and the grievance redressal under this act. Fourth is the right to erasure. So individuals can request deletion of the personal data. So suppose an entity, a digital entity has got access to the user data, or initially the individual has provided the consent in order to process their personal data, but the individual also holds the right to say to that or to request to the entity processing its data or handling its data in order to erase his or her personal data. Then there are stringent penalties, stringent fines up to rupees 250 crore for the violations. Then, in summary, the Digital Protection Data, the Digital Personal Protection Data Protection Act, or the Data Protection Act, marks a pivotal step in empowering citizens. It empowers citizens. The act empowers the citizens and ensuring responsible digital governance in India. So, what it ensures? It ensures citizen empowerment as well as responsible digital governance in India. The PDF of these model answers will be available to you on Shikara Academy's